tool to cope with hardship and like challenges and like get back into feeling like ourselves.
Yeah. Do you remember when you started, like, can you like vividly remember when you started doing that?
I feel like it was relatively new, or it's relatively new for me. Like, I know that
Pandemic vibes.
Yes, and like I know that my family could always tell that I was like in my feelings when I was baking, but like it wasn't as like intentional as it is now.
Right.
I think I really think that coming back from South America and having like a very different relationship with food after that.
Why were you in South America?
I was in the Peace Corps. I feel like we talked about this last week, did we not? It's okay if we did.
But maybe people don't listen every single week.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so I was in Paraguay for 2 years, and like food was just something that was the singular way that I connected with folks. And like one of the things that I said that I wanted to keep for myself when I came back from South America was like being a good neighbor.
Yeah.
And my neighbors like really, really took care of me, and the number one way they did that was food. Like if somebody knew that I was sick, they were at my house with chicken soup. Right. And like granted, it probably wasn't very good. Because it was like some old chicken that they had like killed the day before that was kind of rubbery and weird. But it's still just like that act of love really, like that was like my biggest takeaway from South America.
Right.
That and a lot of parasites. But
and that you don't want to fuck with cassava anymore?
And that, yeah, well, and we call it mandioca in Paraguay, and then yuca in the rest of South America, so whatever. But sometimes I miss it.
Do you want to eat, like, yuca fries?
I'll eat yuca fries. But anyway.
Put your ADD away.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of South America, was like the way that we connected with folks was via food. And so if I wanted people to come to an event, you're
like, I'm gonna feed you, there'll be food
there will be food. Or if we were celebrating something, or if we were sad about something, like it was always food.
Yep. And
I think that was like probably the one thing that I was like, I'm gonna bring that back to the US with me. And I totally did. And when I'm like, okay, when you have a bad day, like I was raised that when you have a bad day, you go to the ocean, but now I live in Colorado.
And that's not an option.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, when you have a bad day, you cook about it.
Yep.
And when you have a good day, you cook about it.
And when you're celebrating, you cook about it.
Right, exactly. But specifically, I think food as, like, a love language in times of, like, difficulty, which seems like not the right word, but adversity sounds like I'm writing a college admissions essay, so I can't figure out, whatever, words are hard.
Words are hard, but you get it.
But yeah, I've just been thinking a lot about the ways that I have used food as a way to, like, connect with people when connection feels really hard, or as a way to, like, dial into softness when softness is really hard to find.
Yeah.
And I think that specifically has been like a focal point since the pandemic.
Hard relate.
Yeah.
I think that similarly, when you start doing it, or especially with like project shit, and you're like, before you can name it, right? Before you're like, I'm intentionally doing this because it's better than being fetal.
Right.
I really started doing that once I became a stay-at-home parent after Mooney was born, as a way to try to like smooth the edges of like my very strained and rocky relationship to her dad. It became somewhat of like a, yes, I love doing this, but I'm like hoping that if I do this, that you will like see me, or, and so I don't think in those moments I necessarily really realized that I was doing it in that way. But when I had a miscarriage in between Scarlett and Maddox, I had no idea what to do with myself. And when you are a parent to a toddler, you know, being fetal for days on end, is not, you know, like I needed to be upright and doing. And one of the things, it was nice because it was like a way for me to like experience like respite. Like I can go to the kitchen to be by myself.
Yeah, totally.
But I also could like include my toddler in on something. And that's actually how like biscuit making was born. I made biscuits like every fucking day for like weeks on end, as like a means of coping. And I mean, that's, now I'm grateful for it all, but experiencing and being able to name and kind of pinpoint what it actually looks like to be really intentional about, like, I have this like energy that I don't know what to do with, or sometimes I don't have that much energy, but like I still need to like do or create or have my hands on something. It feels good to be able to name that and be like, I need to make fucking marinara at 10 p.m. because I have big feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think especially because right now there's like so much struggle
across the board,
right? Like when I was kind of like sitting with the different stories that I wanted to tell about, like for this episode, I was like, okay, well there's COVID stories, there's like anything post 2016, right? There's
dun dun dun.
There's Roe being overturned. There's like everybody's mental health being in the absolute dumps. There's like loss. There's all of these like really hard, big, scary things. And I think because we have just been like shrouded in over the past, you know, especially the past 2.5 years, but you know, more than that,
right?
It's like, how many times are you gonna ask, like, what do you need right now? What do you need right now?
You're just gonna like shut the fuck up about it. And
instead, I'm gonna say, okay, the thing that I can offer you is food. Like, I can say, you are having a time, you're gonna come to my house, you're gonna sit at my table, and I'm gonna feed you congee.
And I've been there, can attest, literally had to roll up and be like, feed me, because if you don't feed me, she ain't eating.
Right. Like, when, you know, people in my family have had, like, some scary shit happen over the past year, and when I don't know what to do, or when I don't know how to help and they don't know exactly what they need, like, that's my go-to response is, okay, well, even if it's not, like, I'm gonna come and cook you an extravagant dinner, it's come to my house and, like, be in my kitchen.
And be in community. We don't have to talk.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a thing. It's like, not like a fucking dinner party. It doesn't have to be elaborate.
We can put a movie on and you can, like, cry and cuddle my dog, and I will
throw Cheez-Its at your face. No,
I'm not going to throw Cheez-Its. You would throw Cheez-Its at somebody's face when they're sad. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would not. I would do both hand. I'd be like, here's your appetizer of chucked Cheez-Its, and also I'm making you dinner.
But it's even just like, you know, the day after Roe was overturned, we all showed up at your house and we got takeout Thai food because we didn't know what to do with ourselves, and we just like sat there in silence and ate.
Well, and I think too, at the end of the day, it is, right? Like, similarly to what we started talking about at the beginning of the episode of, like, you know, you gotta eat. You know, and
right.
So I mean, like, are you cooking to sustain, or are you cooking from, you know, joy, pleasure, sadness, grief, whatever the case may be? Food will always be, has always been. Yes, it's a privilege to have access to it in the ways that we do to food, but it is like, we got to eat. You know what I'm saying? And so that day, remember we were like, I want to take the kids to the Capitol. Like, I want to be with my community. I want to sit in this. And then a couple hours pass and all of us were like, no. Like, Like, I want that. And also, like, none of us had the spoons that day.
Right,
it was just,
right.
like, fucking grief. And that's what we did. Yeah, she's right. They brought Thai food over and a bottle of wine. Yeah. And we literally sat there.
And I just remember Mooney asking, like, why are all the grown-ups sad?
And I mean, it's good for her to, like, it kind of experience that.
Yeah, we had a really good conversation. I was like, you know what, like, some people who think that they're in charge of other people's bodies made some decisions that are really scary for grown-ups, and hopefully, like, they won't be scary for you because we're gonna fix it. And she was like, okay. Right. And then she just kept eating her pad thai.
Yeah, she's like, okay, great. Good talk, Auntie Han. Anyways.
But yeah, I don't know. I think, like, food is a really powerful tool, and obviously that's, like, literally what this whole stinking podcast is about, so I'm a broken record. But
I don't know if you guys noticed, but we're probably gonna just, like, talk about food mess all the time.
Yeah. When you are... So, okay, scenario.
I'm ready.
Somebody who you love has, like, a meal train started. Maybe they just had a baby. Maybe they had surgery and they can't cook for themselves. What's, like, your go-to? What are you going to cook for them?
Okay, if anybody knows anything about me, I don't have linear answers. I wish I did. I wish that I could always...
because, like, I have my go-to.
No, and here's the thing, is this was, like, a running joke in my previous podcast of, like, for a person that is as a straight shooter as I am, I do not have, like, one-liners. I do not have, like, this is my answer. I'm like, what's the context? What season are we in? How many people am I cooking for? Are there allergies? I mean, I understand that you would ask that too, but I would say, like, fall, winter is probably going to be, like, marinara and meatballs that I, like, freeze separately, so you can, like, vibe about it in whatever way that you want to. Summer is harder, I think, because, like, you're not, like, going, like, I love there's a Vietnamese beef stew that I love so much, and, like, you ain't serving that to people when it's 100 degrees outside.
Nah.
You know? And so, but what I do really like doing in the summer is Samin's roasted chicken. Ugh. Because it is the chicken.
This is a Samin Stan podcast, just in case anyone was wondering.
We're actually just going to change the title of the episode to "It's the only roast chicken that you need," because it is true.
It is true.
It's the hill that I'll die on, actually.
Yeah.
But anyways, I really do like to do that, and then give them options. And so, like, can I bring, like, salad makings for you? And do you want to do that? Can I make you a chicken salad with it? But yeah, because like, we need cold options too. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like that is, those are, I could keep going, but I'm gonna shut the fuck up. What's yours? I want to know yours. Wait, is it congee?
No, it's chicken parm.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Really?
It started as a thing, so I always knew that my mom had a bad day at work when she was making chicken parm.
I love that.
Because she would just, like, whack
you pounding on the fucking
breast with a frying pan. Yeah. Like, I would, like, come home from swim practice and she would just be like, Hah! And
you're like, great, I'm gonna actually stay out of the kitchen.
And that was, okay, maybe that was where I learned that, like, you could, like, move through feelings via food.
Yeah.
I don't think she knows that she was moving through feelings via food, but that's okay.
We just said a bee boot. To the connecting.
I'm healing intergenerational trauma every time I cook.
Oh my god, but wait, we are.
But so chicken parm for me was, like, I remember this one time when I was in high school, one of my good friends, her mom had surgery, and my mom was like, all right, we're gonna make them chicken parm. And I was like, and it, like, became this tradition. And it was this year that, like, this same family, like, had, like, 4 different surgeries. And it was, like, this running joke that was like, okay,
how many times can you eat chicken parm?
Well, at least every time I have surgery, we get Jones chicken parm.
I would just like to let the record show
that you haven't eaten the chicken parm. I know. Because I literally only cook it in times of, like, tragedy.
Of, like, devastation.
Yeah. But, so I would, like, yeah, chicken parm is my go-to.
Sad girl chicken parm.
Sad girl chicken parm. I use the same recipe my mom uses.
Shut up.
But my mom, because chicken parm was kind of this like spur of the moment thing that was like, she